All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the CDP stream. As usual, we will be doing a paired programming session. The idea of doing the stream is to work on the current issues in the CDP, which is the ClusterDuck protocol, and work through it together in a very collaborative setting. So that way community members can see how we tackle problems as well as get familiar with where the code is and how to interact with it, while also getting work done on solving these issues. So feel free to jump in if you have suggestions on what we can do, or if you have questions, feel free to reach out. So actually, I'm going to put that on. All right, so to jump in what we're going to be working on today. So we recently closed a bunch of pull requests. These are actually mostly, there were some patches, but mostly we were doing closing the pull request from our past pull requests, our past streams. And so last stream we did the versions inside the code base. There's the GPS fix, which was a little patch. We also did a bunch of telemetry. So this is where we can get data on how often the duck is disconnecting from the internet or from MQTT to report on downtime. And then also we have our Papa queue, which is when you are disconnected from the internet, or there's an issue with publishing to MQTT, that it puts the message into a queue so that that data is not lost. So this is really important in a disaster situation. You would not want to be deleting data of people asking for help. So what we're going to be working on today. So in the past, we've had issues coming here and there about MQTT. So we're going to go in there trying to figure out how we can clean up the process and improve it. So we've kind of made some workarounds from some issues that we had in the past, and over time, this does not work the best. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, look at some of the functionality that comes with the pub sub client, and see if there is some stuff that we can do a little bit more efficiently than we currently are.
Yeah. Welcome everyone. By the way, I'm here as well.
I was just gonna say, joined here with Timo from Project Owl.
So what we're currently doing with the Papa Duck is we're asking for a Wi-Fi connection. So it will look for a Wi-Fi connection for your home network, and whenever the connection is established, it will directly go into a MQTT connection, try into the MQTT. The one thing I realized, Nick, is there might be a way for us to check if you actually provided some of your MQTT credentials, and if these are correct, because there's no way for us to tell if the strings are empty for MQTT connection. It just keeps saying cannot connect to MQTT. So there are a couple things you can improve on the MQTT side, as well as its blocking, which means none other process now is currently running on the Papa Duck until it gets the MQTT connection going.
Well, it's actually non-blocking. Oh, or is it blocking? Is the MQTT blocking? I know that that the internet, connecting to the internet, is not blocking. So you'll be able to still, even if you're not connected to internet or anything like that, you'll still be able to see your messages. It'll add it to the queue. Actually, exactly. You can see right here, it'll publish the queue.
It is actually non-blocking because I just realized that we built a queue where it will collect messages from the radio.
Yeah, so here you have this is our making it non-blocking retry. But recently I looked back there and saw that there is a better way of doing this. Let's see, actually.
So coming back to the point is, I think today we just want to improve the way we use connection to MQTT. We'll probably look at the pub sub client examples. It's the library we use to connect into an MQTT service, and that will help us to get some better feedback methods. There's good error handling in those examples we can probably learn from. We also use this for, like, example, the DMS Lite, which is the local MQTT solution. We use the Papa DMS Lite Wi-Fi example. And so we can implement this in different places. So it will take us some time to figure out what kind of error handling we want to add. And then we should add this to the other PapaDuck as well, Nick, when we figure this out. The Papa DMS Lite Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it uses an MQTT connection as well. So, yeah, bear with us. We're going to do this kind of, how we code together. We sit down, look at an issue, probably Googling, do some example searching, and then just figure out what is the best way to get a better MQTT connection going, because it's very important for the PapaDuck.
Yeah, and so as mentioned earlier, this is a very relaxed session. We're still working out, trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. It's going to be a process. We're going to I'll probably run into situations where we'll want to go back and change the codes that we wrote, but that's part of the coding journey, right? Is building things up and then tearing them down so you can build them better the second time. So it's going to be that kind of video. So let's look here. So we have our examples. We're going to go to our ducks, PapaDuck here, so we can get a nice up and close look at our PapaDuck. Also, what I want to do is, I remember there is a example in MQTT. So this is the pub sub client is what we use, and we have here, which is the MQTT reconnect non-blocking. So this is the one that I wanted to look at. So if we just put this, I'm just going to open this up, and I think it looks a little bit nicer in Visual Studio. Alright, that's not what I meant to be doing. Here, file, new file. I'll put that in there. We're going to save this as what do you call it? Testing dot INO. All right. So we look here. So this is this much smaller one. So we have okay, so here's our setup. So this is when we start. We're doing client set server. So callback. So this is if it's checking if it gets a message. But here this is trying to connect to the server. Or it's setting the server where we're going to connect. Okay, so this is connecting over with the Ethernet. So here, okay, so if we are not connected, so it says try to connect for 5 seconds. Equals now. And so what is it doing here? So client loop. If client's connected, do we do client loop? I forget. So let's see. How are we connecting to MQTT? So we got a lot more stuff going on here, but the important things from that we just, this is all okay. So now we're back in our setup. Let's see.
The big difference is as well, we're connecting to a Watson IoT instance, which requires a little bit more information. So we have a Boolean that's connected. We say is equal to client.connected. If it's connected, We added the if, of course, for the queue, and then if use of authentication method, we pass in the client ID, authentication, and token. If it's not, we just use a client ID. That's what they use in the example we just were looking at, but we need to provide an authentication method and a token as well.
Yeah.
So we connected, and we just keep doing looping that. It's a Boolean. If it's connected, it sets to true. If it's not, it just keeps setting it to false.
Yeah, so then what we have here is we have a timer. So when Wi-Fi is connected and retry. So this is a retry. So this is our methods that we give. Say like, okay, we're gonna wait a little bit before we retry. So we wait to retry. If Wi-Fi is connected, then we use the setup MQTT and we retry. Right?
I'm looking at the other pub sub examples to see how they do it.
And so here's how long it takes. Let's see. Let's see. Does it have any error codes?
I don't see any of them, but wow, examples pops up. Because I would like to know what the error is, why it might not connect.
Oh, so they have this reconnect. What is this reconnect? Oh, here. Client connect, publish, subscribe, in topic.
That's what we would need for implementing two-way communication, right? Is subscribing to a topic as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have to subscribe to that topic.
I'm trying to see if there are any error codes we can get from the pub sub client.
Yeah, just trying to see. Is there? So if reconnect is false, then.
So as far as I can see, connect is just returning a true or a false. Doesn't provide us any error handling.
Yeah. So this also, they have one.
There is a method client.state, I think, that just also probably returns a true or a false.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to see there are 337 issues on this PubSub client repo and 54 requests.
So many people use it.
Yeah, it's a very popular code base.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon made a comment in chat. It says, I noticed that the INO files don't mandate that functions be defined before using them.
Which
So we don't,
functions?
I can ask, but I think in general, we don't define any methods before using them in the INOs.
No. So yeah, you define. Yeah, you don't need a header file, like you would for others. So like for papaduck.cpp. This is so when we this is where our class for the papaduck is. So if I go right here, so whenever we create a papaduck, we're creating an instance of papaduck, and so that's using the papaduck.cpp. Now the papaduck.cpp has a header file. Let's see if I can find it
All the way
here.
at the bottom.
Papaduck.h right here. And so here we have to every function that is in there, we have to define here in the header file first. But in Papaduck, if we're using it just here on the application level, we don't need to define anything beforehand. And so you can see here the ones that we define beforehand. So here you can see duck set up with defaults. This is coming from the papaduck class, which is the papaduck.cpp, which has that header file. So yeah, so you don't need to. Although, I have every once in a while run into cases where, depending on when you define these functions, sometimes where you have them can make a difference. For the most part, it doesn't. But I feel like I have run into a couple of situations where just moving a method that's on the, because I generally like to have my methods on the bottom of where I have like the setup and loop. I like to have those at the top because that's where I'm doing my operations, what I'm doing, and then I go down and look and see here's all my methods. Usually, other people like doing the opposite way, but I think doing the opposite way is technically correct because you want to make sure all of this stuff is initialized before you actually run it. But I don't think it matters too much for the most part. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, so okay, so I thought there was something else for MQTT.
Yeah, I'm going to the documentation real quick.
Let's see. Because so for them, they wait 5 seconds, right? or how is this? So say this sketch demonstrates how to keep a client connected using non-blocking reconnect function. Client loses a connection and attempts to reconnect every 5 seconds without blocking the main loop. So loop if it's not connected.
So what Brenton says, G++, which is the compiler, I think, which Platform IO uses as well, requires to be every method to be defined at the bottom of the file. And I think this is the same problem we had when we were compiling C++ and Platform IO. It did not give us it didn't stop from compiling, but it did give us all these warnings that methods are undefined or something. And that's why we had to switch, for a lot of them, we had to switch the setup method to the bottom. Otherwise, it didn't recognize the methods. But I feel like that's specific for things like CLion and Platform IO and not for Arduino IDE.
Yeah, so which we probably, if for better practices, if that's the way to do it, we should change everything to that.
Yeah, the one thing is like then, so that means we have to include like the .h file essentially inside of the INO.
In the INO?
I don't know. I wouldn't know how we would, which methods we have to define.
So let's see. So platform IO defining defining method. All right, so let's see.
This was specifically for G++, and I don't know if that's used by Platform IO.
Well, G++, isn't that like the C++ compiler?
Linux, yeah, for Linux.
Yeah. Because INO is, so when the compiler takes the INO file, it converts it into a C++ file, right? I think that's what it does. I forget exactly.
We can look into this later. I don't know how it works where some CLion, I think Platform IO, how they compile the file specifically. I do know in Platform IO we were able to compile. We just have to rearrange the setup methods. So maybe we can ask Brenton on Tana or something on what the issues were with compiling.
But this is also something, the static code analysis, actually. This was something that someone else in the community brought up. How to say code analyzers. This is something that was one of the issues that from a long time ago that we haven't. This is something we should look into maybe next week.
Yeah,
because we've been working on trying to figure out the RCI. There has been an issue with our Travis, so we're just trying to figure out how to get the credits on there, because Project Owl doesn't own the repo because it's owned by the Linux Foundation, so it's an open source. So it's a little bit more complicated for us to get certain applications on there. So right now we're just working on getting that back up. But having the static code analysis would be good as well. So from what I'm getting from this one here, I think how we are currently doing it is pretty okay, right? Because
So we got a comment from Mia saying, I don't know if it was about this part, but we can do exception handling on it. But we have to figure out how and where we should and what could solve that for us.
what was the question?
She just mentioned that we can do exception handling on this.
Oh, yeah, that was yeah,
But I wouldn't
having some better logging.
So we can add our own logging to this, potentially.
Yeah, so the only log that we have right here is this. So let's see, where can we do some checks? So what might be a better way is rather than having this as a void, that set this up as a return, right? So kind of like how we have this right here. This is much better error handling than what we do right here in the INO level, right?
Yeah.
Well, this in the same sense we. Yeah, instead of doing because we have this return these like return functions in here, so this would be a good way to actually clean this up. So why don't we actually do here instead, and also instead of set up MQTT, so let's make this an int, right? And then instead of setup MQTT, this would be MQTT connect. All right. If connected.
Yeah, we should adapt camel case to our methods.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, this is it might be a good opportunity to clean some of this up. So MQTT connect. All right. So if Wi-Fi is connected, and then we have equals this. Okay. All right, then we want to do the same thing here.
Nick, you might understand this. There was a comment that says, "Is it possible to make the classes in different files? Make the classes have package scope, and then the main method have it with the files imported. Have some of the methods imported into others." I am not 100% sure, but I think it's kind of what we're doing is importing the methods while we're creating the duck.
Let's see. Is it possible to make the classes in different files, make the classes have package, scope, and we have it with the files imported, have some of the methods imported into others? So yeah, so actually, so this is what we do. So what I was mentioning earlier is that we have the Papa Duck class, right? And so this is where maybe if I even take a step further back, we have this one file over here called duck.cpp. Now, duck.cpp is where all Duck devices share the same functionality. So you can see in here we have like every Duck when we create it gets a name, whatever their Duck name, and also every Duck has the ability to set their encryption. It's like here's set device ID. So these are all shared. Then also the radio stuff where we're sending messages over the internet, or not internet, over between each of the ducks. And then now for the Papa Duck, we actually because we should be so we're using all of them we're using stuff from Duck, and then we include here, you see here the Papa Duck, and we include the Papa Duck here, and this is like the function. So we do a lot of that already, but for Duck specific things, we so for this is our application layer. So this is where we're doing most of like this specific to this Duck, and also I guess because like for the MQTT stuff, we do mostly in here. I guess maybe we could move more of this stuff out of this. I mean, that's something to look into, is how we can maybe move more of this stuff out. So this one right here is where we're preparing the packet to be sent to the internet. I don't know if that makes sense to what you were saying before. Yeah, so it's a base class file, and then we inherit from that base class. But we also have a bunch of other files as well that in this include, these are all different files that you can include into your stuff, but most of them are already included within each other and within the base classes. So if you if you wanted to work your way backwards through everything and all this different stuff that's going on, you would, first you start at the here, which is the INO, which is the application layer. Then you go back into the Papa Duck class, and then you can even look in here. So like here we use other ones like Duck Utils. These where are other ones that I can show. So here the Duck, then it goes into that base class, right? The Duck set up with defaults, and so you'll see here that will cascade into pretty much all of these other files that we include. So hopefully that makes sense. But I think there probably are some stuff here that we could move over, but I don't know how necessary, especially since a lot of this stuff in here is for people who have other use cases other than doing the base case. You're going to be doing a lot of editing here, so it's a lot easier. So that's also one of the other things, is that when we were designing this, we wanted to not have, when people wanted to take the CDP and do their own projects on top of it, While we at Project Owl, our original goal is for disaster relief, and this is what it's built for. But other people, as an open source, people can do other stuff like put different kinds of sensors or use it as a communication network for other things. Um, so, uh, having this kind of stuff in the application layer, it's a lot easier for you to edit and mess around with than if it was in the library files. Um, so, um, so that's kind of maybe part of the reason, but it might make sense for us to do a review of what maybe could be put into.
Yeah, while we're working on the CDP ports to fully support C++, we have been talking about this a lot, right? Where it's like the protocol itself should actually be packet format, how you transfer the data, and everything else is all in addition to the application layer. Even things like the portal, like the MQTT, the Wi-Fi components, it's all baked into the code base because it's what we think is valuable to our project. But you can see with other projects, they extract just the LoRa part, the message handling outside, and they include it into their other library. We're still at the point where it's one code base. And I think there's going to be a future for us where there's a different folder that's just talking about the packet formats. And one thing you have to do is just shove in that packet into a radio, into a Wi-Fi connection, an Iridium connection, or all that kind of stuff. So, so that will get there.
Yeah, so just let's continue here. So now we don't need this for try MQTT.
They'll clean up some of the code.
Yes. How long did we have that for? That was for a second. So every second we try to reconnect. All right. So if connected. Okay, so looking at this here, we have two of the same method, the same like code. Why is that? Was that always like that? You see it is the same as this right up here.
I have a slight delay, so I have to watch the stream to be loaded, but packet queue size bigger than 0, publish queue if connected. Yeah, that seems double. There could be a reason for it. We'll have to check that later if there's two reasons why we dequeue.
Well,
it shouldn't because we
what will happen though is we don't for the when you add to the queue, it's wait here, let me just put else. I forget what I was doing.
the retry.
Yeah, so when you get a publish when you get publish failed, that's when it puts it into the queue. So it doesn't check to see if the stuff is there. All right, so let's see. Let's remove that.
So we're getting rid of the full Boolean connected, and we'll change it to an int, or
so. All right, so then, instead of int, we should make it bool. So this would be Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get status codes back.
Yeah, that would have been very helpful. Pub sub only has true or false. It makes sense because a pub sub client only checks if there's a connection able to be established, but there's no way for it to tell the password was wrong or anything was wrong. What I do think we can do is we can do a quick check if the strings are empty or not. And we can say no as a no token or something provided.
So actually make this. Just do this the other way around. So, and then MQT connected. So this makes a little more sense to read. Return. And so I don't need this part, but we want this. Instead of doing connected. Oh. Oh, okay, so that makes sense. Alright, so we have this connected here. So, and then if connected, return true. Well, okay, so what we just need to do here is just end this with return.
So we're not adding the int errors in there?
No, because there's
no way, there's nothing to return.
Well, yeah, because we just overcomplicate things, right? Because we don't have a method here where it returns. So client connected right here. This returns a bool, right?
True.
And so here it says, okay, if it's connected, then we're going to try to do that stuff. If it's not connected, it's going to try to connect. Now, if it fails to connect, this value connected is going to be false, right? So it's going to return false if it was unable to connect. And so that would mean MQT connected equals false. So if it's false, then it's going to say it was not able to connect to MQTT, and then it's going to, in 1 second, it's going to enable retry. That makes sense?
Yeah. Quick update. Brandon wrote like a full breakdown of his problems with CLion and Platform IO and the GitHub issues, which
oh, okay, great. So let's see. Let's look at that real quick. Actually, let's see here.
So I was wrong before because you have to use Platform IO inside of CLion instead of. That was how my confusion started. I'm so used to using it in Visual Studio Code that I wasn't thinking about it using it inside of CLion.
Okay, so I'll look at that. So let's just wrap up this one. All right, so that looks much cleaner than we had before. We removed a method. This looks a lot. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, if you open up the chat real quick, there's a good question for you.
Let's see. The JSON file utilizes status codes using JSON, like put. So can it? Oh. Main functionality domain. can be linked to a JSON file. Utilize the status codes that are used in JSON. Like, okay, yeah. So we do have status codes. So we have what is this in the CDP packet?
I think what she's saying as well is that JSON uses defined.
Yeah. So here, this is what we have. So, oh no, is it here? No, not this one. We have which file? Let's see, packet. Where? We have we do define status codes. But I'm blanking out which file that we put it in. Not.
I think she's referencing to status codes that are specifically for JSON objects.
Like it. So Mia, do you mean like JSON ones, or does it work similar to JSON? Because let's see, or just to clarify, where is? Not here. Where? It's on utils either. Oh man. Where do we have all of them? There's I forget which file, but yeah, we have a bunch of different error codes. I don't think it's in Logger, is it? No. Oh my gosh, where? Because we have like it's just a bunch of enums, so we have them as a bunch of enums, so you can write out. Yeah, like here at this. Like this one right here. Let's see, go to definition here. Oh, duck error. Okay, yeah, there you go. So here we have all of our status codes. So the one that we hope to see is duck error none. But here are all the different ones that we give out. Unfortunately I guess we could put one here for for MQTT. Well, it's like we could do something like that. Would be nice. Actually, we probably should put in a logger.
We're not using the logger in the INO level, I think.
No, we don't. It doesn't make sense too, because it's we just put like here, you just put papa, and that means the INO file. So it's not, since we're only using MQTT in the local, because it's only the papa duck is only using it. Yeah, so I'm just gonna remove this for now, but yeah, no. If you want to know our status codes, we also have Doxygen set up too. Actually, I don't, I think where you can see that. Let's see if we go. Oh, no, not that.
Wiki and then all the way down under API.
Yeah, maybe we should put it out there. Let's see. Let's see. Duck error doesn't show up here.
Have we? It might be that it's not referenced by. We haven't done documentation for it.
I think that would be good to know. No, we haven't. We haven't put Doxygen for it.
Okay.
So we can work on. Should mark that down to put it in there. Put all because that's actually something whenever this is Doxygen, that's always I go to the page with all the error codes because I'm usually trying to figure out what they mean. So yeah, okay. So we'll be putting out a documentation patch soon for some stuff, especially mostly for the most recent patches. But yeah.
This stream is kind of all over the place. There's still something in the chat, Nick, about the JSON. I think it's what Mia is referencing to is how you would post JSON to a web page. Like after we publish, there's a status code being returned. Mm-hmm. I do think MQTT doesn't return any status codes when you're publishing. They just take in a JSON object, and even if it's faulty, I think they will take it as long as there's if the connection is established.
So there is one moment where let's see here. Hello, duck data. Where's Quack JSON? Here we go. So at the bottom of Quack JSON, we try to publish. And so yeah, we don't get when we try to publish, we don't get an error code, but instead we get a bool. So we just get true false. So if true, then we're returning 0. If false, we return a -1.
On the Watson IoT side, there is a lot more error code handling that says your token is incorrect, your credentials are expired. That's the stuff we would love to see in your PapaDuck site, but I don't think there's any way for us to make the connection, because if you're not able to make the connection, there's no way to tell what is going wrong there. But from the MQTT host, there is a lot of error handling you can get.
Oh, here. So wait. So they do have some error codes, right? How is he getting an error code?
Well, we have. So remember the issue a couple weeks ago when we got the 4, -5, -400 and stuff.
Yeah. What? Where was that state? Yeah, I remember that. That's what I was remembering. How do we get the?
After an hour, I also remember the same thing. That's what we wanted to work on today. Is we do get error states -4 and stuff when we were getting the connection.
All right, let's see. Okay, start
over the stream, Nick. Just stop recording and just press start.
Let's see here. Basic. Where was it that I saw that?
It could be the connection, which is in here. Failed. RC is line number 50.
Yeah, client.state. All right, cool. All right. Okay, now then we're getting somewhere. So then let's go here. So cannot connect to MQTT. There we go. So now we print out the error code.
You're going to move error to the second line, so it's could not connect to MQTT, error equals.
Well, it should be on the same line, I think.
Okay. Oh, now, okay, that's you did a print. That's good.
Yeah, print and then print ln. So yeah, so this will appear on the same line. So error, say error what, whichever. I mean, we could put a switch in here. Let's see, code. Where do they have their error codes?
Yeah, documentation is very limited on the PubSub. Oh, full API documentation is available here.
All right, here it is.
Yeah.
So here, back credentials.
I'm going to send you a link in the chat, and that's where they are in the API documentation if you need more. Oh, you found them already. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, actually, no, I'm just going to put this, I'm just going to dump these in error, duck error, but I'm going to comment them out.
Just so you have them for a second.
Yeah, and see what we want to do with it. I don't know. We'll decide.
I think that the serial prints we're going to give back are very important. Telling your credentials are wrong. Taking these and changing them to actual feedback instead of like, oh, you got a -4, which we had before and nobody knows what it means.
Forget, how do you do the?
Just paste it, copy it all, and do command/ or control.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I want to do the one where you have. And then. Yeah, forget. Ugh. There's this. Yeah, there you go. All right, so we have that. All right, so I think we're gonna call it a day at that.
We will follow up the next stream probably to implement more of it.
Yeah. But I think
all over the place, but sorry everybody, that's how we code sometimes. It's a little bit disorganized and just...
Yeah, and if you have any ideas for what you want us to do on our stream next week, let us know. We're in Slack. It's the best way to find us. We'll probably get better at putting some stuff out there a little bit earlier so we can kind of give an idea what we want to do. But I'm pretty happy with how this kind of came out. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more readable. And a lot easier to understand. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you next week.